Hello, Provost City. I am Superintendent Wendy Dow from the Provost City School District. Today is Monday, October 28th. We hope you all had a great fall break last week and that your students were able to wind up the first quarter and feeling pretty good about the start of second quarter. We just wanted to make you aware of a few things that are taking place this week. So tomorrow evening, Tuesday, October 29th at 6:00 p.m., we are going to be having a community meeting at the Dixon Middle School in the auditorium. This is where we're going to be talking about how we have narrowed many of our choices in terms of what to do with the Dixon site, in terms of a career and technical education center. Do we want to relocate an elementary school there? What are our options in terms of making sure that programs such as East Bay Post High, adult education, community education all have homes so that they really are truly part of our district community. So we'll be talking about those options. We'll also be talking about the financing, what that looks like, how we will be able to finance the continuing construction of Timpview High School, what that's going to mean for Provost City residents. And so we hope that you'll join us at 6:00 p.m. We're happy to answer questions. At 6:45, we will have a trunk or treat out on the field by Dixon Middle School. School board members will be there, district leadership will be there to answer questions that you have. We will have some handouts that will link you to some additional information that we will have for our presentation on that Tuesday. So even if you aren't able to come, we'll be able to direct you to specific websites and resources and materials that would be available to you so that you can get your questions answered. We really are trying to move in the direction of narrowing down our options and identifying what we need to use our spaces for. We are in the midst of our boundary and feasibility studies so that we make sure that we're using the buildings that we do have with the greatest efficiency possible, and that we look at if we need to shift boundaries. Doesn't mean that that's a given. We might not need to, but what is the best way to utilize our programming, and are we utilizing our taxpayer dollars to the best of our ability? And what does it look like to be really transparent about how we're upkeeping our facilities, and what do replacement cycles look like, and all of those pieces. All of this goes along with our priority 3 of our strategic plan with our stewardship of resources, and we want to be very transparent about that process. Also in board meeting last week, we did have our auditor come and report on the financial status of the district. Are we following all of the state procurement laws and purchasing procedures? Do we have our internal controls in place? We're very pleased to note that we got the highest rating on this particular audit. We also, it was also noted that we have a really great atmosphere that's been created by our business administrator, Devin Daly, and her team, and that there are things in place to ensure that we are utilizing all of our resources with transparency, that we are following state laws, that people feel comfortable asking questions, that we can make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do to be great stewards of the public's money. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Devin Daly and her team. They have put in tireless hours. They have to work with the auditor to prepare those reports, and just the daily grind that they work on to ensure that our district is functioning and running well and efficiently. We're very grateful for all of the individuals that are part of the operations side of our district. We could not educate our kids without all of them. We also had a joint meeting with the City Council. Our school board had a joint meeting with the City Council last Thursday. One of the topics that we discussed quite openly was about our safe routes process. We know we've had a lot of concerns from parents about how their kids get to schools, especially your elementary and your middle schools, safely. So what happens is our school community councils put together and review those safe routes. They look at problem areas. They upload that information into a state site and make recommendations and requests for things that they feel might be helpful in ensuring that students have a safe way to get to school. Then our Safe Routes Committee, that's led by Assistant Superintendent Jared Seitz, he's over elementary education, will then work with Provost City And we go through those requests and determine, based on the resources that the city has available to them, what needs to be prioritized, and recognizing that they're approving their budgets, well ahead in advance. And so they can start to look at, well, what needs to go on the list of things that needs to be completed a year or two from now. So we recognize that we try to work together to prioritize those things, and not every single recommendation is going to be adopted, but we want to make sure that we're being clearer about what that process looks like, why perhaps a project might have been rejected in the immediacy, and if it's on the docket to be considered in the future, so that we have really clear communication with our communities as to that relationship between Provost City. We've been very lucky to work with Provost City in this process. They have been fantastic to work with as we've been trying to ensure that we have safe routes for all of our kids. We have also been meeting with state legislators. As we know, the legislative session starts in January, to look at bills and concerns that they have, so that we can really partner with them and have great conversations with them. We do get concerned about how many education bills do get passed because it does require so much change in our policies, and how much time that takes in that process to ensure that we're doing that. And so really looking at, are there ways in which we can problem solve issues more at the local level, rather than necessarily needing those things to take place at the state. And we just really appreciate the relationship that we have in Provo with our legislators. They have been most helpful, and they're great listeners, and they want to partner with us. They want Utah to be an amazing place to live, and they want Provo to be a fantastic school district. And so we're very, very lucky to be able to have these relationships with them. I just also want to share a few celebrations with you. I was able to go to Provost Elementary and sit in on some classrooms. And one of the things that we know as a district is that we really need to be focusing on our academic achievement. That's why our number one priority as a district is to improve our academic achievement as measured by our end of level tests. And we know that end of level tests don't measure everything that's in the process of a child's learning. But we also know that it does indicate that a child is obtaining certain skill sets that are important for them to progress to the next level of education, or to progress into a career if they're graduating from high school, or to go into college. And so as we've been looking through this data, we've been finding those pieces of data that we need to replicate, where we have tremendous growth that's happening. For example, we were able to look at Centennial Middle School's growth data. One of the things that's really powerful is when you see the growth of the lowest 25%, that's really where we're trying to eliminate or lessen the opportunity gaps for some of our students that have greater challenges. And they have done a tremendous job of really focusing on closing that gap. And a big piece of that is because they're having English and math every day. And we know that that sometimes is a tough decision to make, because it pulls students out of an elective. But when you start to see those really powerful results, that's really important. When we were looking at Shoreline Middle School's data, our multilingual learners are put into a specific class for support. And what you saw is tremendous growth in their language development as a result of that. We know that that also pulls kids out of an elective. But to watch our leaders make these tough decisions because it's in the best interest of student learning, that really is what is falling in line with our strategic plan. I've been very impressed with our leaders and our teachers and their support of that. We also, as I was at Provost Elementary, I was able to walk into a 5th grade classroom with a teacher. She has a 5th, 6th grade split. And just looking at her data and just seeing how many kids were coming in that were not proficient in English, math, and science, and how many kids she moved into that level of proficiency and mastery. As a result, she was doubling those scores. It was pretty impressive. And so just looking at our teachers and seeing just the tremendous job that they do, we want to take those great examples. And by the way, that was Mary Wade, who is doing a 5th, 6th split this year. When we start looking at those teachers and figuring out, okay, what are the things that they're doing that are really helping our students to progress and gain the skills that they need to be successful at the next level, we need to be identifying what that might look like. So we've had some really good conversations about our data. Also want to highlight Independence High School, which has exited from its comprehensive school improvement status. Independence High School is our alternative high school. It had been in this status as a result of a lower graduation rate, which we would expect sometimes with kids that struggle with traditional schooling and have lots of issues that they're overcoming. But that administrative team and that staff and that faculty and those parents have all pulled together and worked so hard to ensure that students are successful, that they're finding areas that they can develop their skills so that they're ready for the next level. And when you hear about kids and just how excited they are for the opportunity they have to be at Independence High School and to move on to the next phase of their lives, just really impressed. And so just a big shout out to Independence High School and all of the great work that they've been doing, Principal Griffin in particular. Just make sure that you're saying thank you to all of our great principals. We know we have great leaders in Provo City School District. We are very, very fortunate to have the individuals that we do that are leading our schools. They're looking at data. Every time we meet with them, they're always trying to figure out what are some better ways in which we can support our students? What are better ways in which we can support our teachers? What specific skills and supports do we need to provide? And just their willingness to think outside the box and to work with us as a district is pretty phenomenal. And just watching them interact with kids is pretty incredible. So this week is Halloween. I want to wish all of you a fabulous Halloween on Thursday. We know that that does create chaos in our schools, but we're also very excited about that. We also want to make you aware that you are going to be receiving some communication about our new attendance notification system. You'll see a text message that comes across when your child is absent, talking about excusing that absence through what is called Safe Arrival. There will be information coming that talks about how to download that Safe Arrival app. You will use your PowerSchool login credentials and you can get into that app and excuse the absence so that you don't have to wait for somebody to pick up the phone. You don't have to send an email. And so more information on that to come. We know that's going to take an adjustment to figure that out, but we're hoping in the long run, this will be a lot more convenient for you as parents to be able to excuse your child's absences. And it will also allow our schools to be more responsive because they're not fielding all of the attendance calls, and they can address the needs that our community has. With that, have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time.